Up on Valley News Live at 10. Nurses in North Dakota calling the state's response to COVID a dumpster fire. Fargo has new penalties for bars and restaurants not following capacity guidelines. How police say they'll enforce them. Plus, Trump 24, why the president is already eyeing the next election. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
We begin tonight with breaking news as North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum has just announced several mitigation measures aimed at slowing the acceleration spread of COVID-19 in the state. The measures include an order requiring face coverings to be worn in indoor businesses and indoor public settings, as well as outdoor public settings where physical distancing isn't possible. It's effective starting tomorrow through December 13th. The governor also signed an executive order covering other matters that take effect on Monday. It limits the number of people in bars and restaurants and says they must be closed between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Now, there is much more to this release, and you can find details on our website right now, valleynewslive.com, and the VNL News app. North Dakota nurses are hitting their breaking points as COVID-19 continues to surge through the state. An infectious disease specialist at Johns Hopkins says he believes North Dakota's virus trajectory officially puts it in crisis, saying the state is, quote, a lesson for what happens for when you don't plan for cases. Valley News Team's Bailey Hurley spoke with a nurse today who tells us nurses across the state are only holding on by a thread.
Although Sanford Health denied the allegations, several Sanford nurses tell me over 70 traveling nurses have ended their contracts in Fargo early due to what they cited as poor working conditions. One former traveler saying she left after 3 weeks due to little staff and, quote, unsafe conditions.
That's scary. I mean, that's definitely, it almost gives me goosebumps. That's not the reason we want to be in headlines.
Less hands on deck has left ICU and COVID unit nurses with double or triple the amount of patient loads.
That's concerning. As nurses, we just generally want to give our all and do our best with safety and care and compassion. And when you're spread so thin, that's really difficult.
In an effort to fight against staff shortages, Sanford nurses have been told they must pick up 36 to 72 extra hours between now and Christmas Eve, a decision Johnson says is only going to lead to burnouts.
We cannot just be run to the ground.
Elective surgeries already on the books continue at Sanford, a move Johnson says many Fargo nurses say, quote, disgusts them.
There's only so much you can take. There's only so much you can put your life and your family's life and your children's life and your own well-being at risk day in and day out.
In an email Monday, Sanford Health says they activated their next stage of their surge plan, adding 35 more hospital beds with an additional 14 rooms under construction.
Why didn't they communicate that to their staff 9 months ago? So when now we're in this crisis, they could have known what to expect.
Johnson says in 8 months, Governor Doug Burgum has not reached out to anyone in the state's nurse association, which she says makes nurses feel unvalued and unappreciated. In Fargo, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
Despite Governor Burgum's announcement earlier this week, both Sanford and Essentia Health say that any employee who tests positive for COVID-19 must quarantine for a minimum of 10 days and is not to report to work. Staffing shortages brought on by COVID are forcing several schools to close their doors. Moorhead announcing this afternoon that students will move to full-time distance learning on November 30th. On Monday, Fargo and Grand Forks Public Schools will discuss similar moves. Crookston and East Grand Forks are also pulling students out of the classroom and switching to distance learning for at least 2 weeks starting November 23rd. Now tomorrow on Valley News Live, reporter Courtney Lockie will tell us what the schools say needs to be done for students to stay in the classroom. Bars and restaurants in Fargo will soon be capped at 50 people under a new emergency order by Mayor Tim Mahoney. Valley News Team's Devin Fry hit the streets of Fargo to see how people feel about this latest ruling.
And he just felt that The best way would be this kind of limitation of occupancy.
It's the newest ruling in the city of Fargo's effort to halt the spike of COVID-19. Mayor Tim Mahoney issued an emergency order this afternoon capping capacity at bars, restaurants, and other venues at 25% capacity with a maximum of 50 people. We hit the streets of downtown Fargo this afternoon to see what people think about this newest order. Those who talked to us about it on camera were in support, saying that something needs to be done about crowded bars and restaurants during this pandemic.
We need to get over COVID. You know what I mean? There's only one way to do that. That's to limit capacity and limit people going out to the bars and stuff like that.
The new rule will go into effect on Monday morning. Anyone who breaks the capacity limit will be charged with an infraction, which carries a $1,000 fine and could also result in a suspended liquor license. When asked how this rule will be enforced, Fargo Police Chief Dave Zabolski told us that he'll be working with public health officials to ensure compliance.
And we'll work collectively with them to identify other locations and of course seek voluntary compliance first, but if not, we will have an enforcement mechanism to ensure that we are doing everything we can.
This is one of many new ordinances that were considered to help slow the spread of COVID-19 locally. We were told that curfews and other orders were all still on the table at this point. Reporting from Fargo, Devin Fry, Valley News Live.
Once again, the order is set to be in place until December 15th, but the mayor can choose to extend it further. The University of North Dakota is holding a public COVID-19 testing event tomorrow. It's going to take place at UND's High Performance Center from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Officials say everyone is welcome to participate, even if they don't have symptoms. Minnesota health officials also announced that 11 new COVID-19 testing sites will open across the state in the coming weeks, including one in Crookston. The testing site there will open at the National Guard Armory on Monday. In addition to the new testing locations, the COVID-19 Test at Home program is now available to all Minnesotans. Starting Monday, Minnesotans who test positive for COVID-19 or who have been identified as a close contact will now get a text before they get a call from the health department. Health officials say they understand that people are wary of answering a call from a number they don't recognize, and the text will let people know what number to expect the call from. Pfizer released surprisingly positive preliminary data about its experimental coronavirus vaccine this week, but according to experts, it'll take several weeks to get a vaccine approved. Meanwhile, Pfizer hopes to distribute 7.5 million doses of the vaccine per day across its two main distribution centers, one in Michigan and another in Belgium. The company will also have additional distribution centers, one in Wisconsin and one in Germany. President Trump is touting Pfizer's vaccine and promising it will be available in the early spring. He says he expects the FDA to grant emergency use authorization for it soon. Today, the president also singled out New York. The governor there saying he wants New Yorkers to wait to take the vaccine until state health officials assess it.
As soon as April, the vaccine will be available to the entire general population, with the exception of places like New York State, where, for political reasons, the governor decided to say, and I don't think it's good politically, I think it's very bad from a health standpoint, but he wants to take his time with the vaccine. He doesn't trust where the vaccine's coming from.
Results suggest the Pfizer vaccine could be 90% effective. President Trump says his administration is working with the company to manufacture and distribute the initial 100 million doses. A by-hand ballot audit for the presidential election continues in the state of Georgia. Workers in teams of 2 are going ballot by ballot. Each worker calls out the name of the voter's chosen candidate, then places the ballot in the pile for that candidate, with the stacks then counted and recorded. All of the state's 150-plus counties are taking part, with workers retallying nearly 5 million ballots by hand. While votes still being counted in a number of states for this election, President Trump is already discussing a run for the presidency in 2024. According to NBC, the president has told some advisors that if the election is certified for Biden, he will announce a 2024 run. Fargo police need some help in finding a vulnerable adult. Her name is Lori Leaning, and she's 6'1", has blonde hair, blue eyes. She was last seen Wednesday at her home in the 2300 block of 17th Street South in Fargo. She was wearing a black coat with a fur hood. Now, she's believed to be on foot, and you're asked to contact Fargo police if you have any information on her whereabouts. Coming up on Valley News Live at 10, some good news in the forecast. Quiet, there's a warm up. Hutch is in to break it down in a couple of minutes.